In this video, we're going to be discussing tabbed productions. Tabbed productions are a new capability in Quincy, a departure from how we used to do productions in summation. In summation, when you create a production, it basically moves those documents, makes copies of those documents and moves them into the case as additional documents, if you will, preserved in time. With a tab production, it doesn't do that. You never get new documents added to your case. Instead, you get streams added to an object. Now, I know that's sort of complicated terminology, but let me show you how it works, and I think it'll make a lot of sense. So let's hop into the tool. All right, I'm already logged into a case link 7. I'm going to filter to some objects I know that have already been produced. Actually, before I do that, let me show you in filters. In filters, in the filter widget, if you have productions, you can tell that because there is a production label. So all the documents that have been produced into this production label, in this case, first production. And so we can actually see those objects by just sort of filtering on them. If we were to click on this, it would filter the grid to the objects that have already been produced. And it's just these. But that's interesting. It says there are 3 here, but only 2 here. I suspect we're out of sync. Let's refresh and double check that. And exactly right. Yeah, we were out of sync. So let's remove this and let's reapply it and just get all back in line, if you will. There we go. All right, so now it's correctly reflected here and correctly reflected here. These are the 3 objects that have already been produced. So what do I mean by that? So let's open up the viewer and let's look at one of these documents. This is the rendered view. We'll never see what we need. Tab productions are always in the PDF view. So let's click on to PDF. And you can see on this document, we have this drop-down menu, which has a live version or first production in this case, which is what this tab production was called. It's called first production. So you can tell a document that has been produced because you will always have this drop-down menu. You'll have always an option for live version and then the various produced forms of this document. So let's go ahead and do something here. Let's add a watermark to this object, and then let's produce it again. So we can toggle between the various versions of the document. So we're going to go ahead and let's remove this, and let's do a watermark, and we'll do global, and we'll just leave testing there. And let's close this, get a little bit, and we'll go ahead and save that. And so now we have branded, we should pretty soon have a watermark on this document. I suspect we'll need to click off of it and back on it to see that, but let's just try clicking the rendered and then back to PDF and see. There we go. Okay, so the live version of this document has this big watermark on it. I think and it also has some branding here. Let's see what the produced version of this document looks like. No more global watermark. And if we scroll down, still the bait stamping. If we want to go back to the live version, we can do that. And we're back to the version with the watermarking. Now, how do we create a production, a tab production? There are a lot of different ways to do it. We're going to explore just 2 of them here, but at the end of the day, the trick here, the secret here is a tab production is really just a label. It's nothing more than a label. It's a label under that special production folder. The trick is that production folder But any label under there can effectively become a tab production. So let's go ahead and make one in the viewer, and we do that by clicking on this button, Create Tab Production. And it will ask us, do we want to add this to a production, or do we want to make a new production? And we're gonna go ahead and make a new production. And we're going to do that by just typing in second production. And then we're going to go ahead and go. Click go. And you can see there, let me open that back up once that thing gets started. I could also have removed it from production here. Just by clicking on this, that would remove it from the production. I could, for what it's worth, interestingly enough, remove it from the production actually just by removing the production label, the first prod label from this object. That would also remove it from the production. But okay, so we've run a second production. Let's toggle off and toggle back on, and hopefully that will appear. So toggling off here, and we're toggling back on. Let's go to our PDF view. And there we go. First production, second production. Now the second production should be exactly the live version of the document because that's how it looked when we produced it. So let's see. And it does exactly what we expected. We can go back to the live version. So we have the two tab productions here and the live version. Let me show you the other way we could have created a tab production with this document in it. We could go through and select all of these, and then we can right click here and do PDF options and tabbed production. And that will give us the same basic option to, well, really, you're doing the same thing. You would type in the label you wanted to add it to, or you could go third production and run it, and all these will be added to now a third production. And you can see it's going and it's creating the tag, and now it's starting the production process, or the tab production process. And so this document should be in 3 productions. These should all be in 2 at this point. All right, so those are the 2 different ways I want to talk about adding a document to a production. You saw how you could remove it just by clicking on here and coming into here and removing from a production, from the first production. But let's talk about what you ultimately do, how you ultimately export these documents, because that is why you created the production in the first place, because you want to hand it over to somebody. So let's go ahead and go into export. And here the process is really, really simple. We just want to choose our correct case, which in this case is link 7. Give it a name. It doesn't really matter. Let's give it a directory. We're going to go into export. That's where I put my exports. C exports. Okay, and let's go. This is, what are we calling this? First prod. And then it's important we choose native, and that we select the correct. Oh, we didn't choose our case yet. Link 7. We select the correct labels. Remember, we had this label first production that we added, that initial document we saw was a part of. Let's go ahead and produce that one. And then remember, we're producing the images, right? We're not producing the natives. So let's just go ahead and select image. We don't need to worry about excluding, and we've already done the branding. That's the important thing. You don't want to select branding when you're using a tab production. Quincy still has the ability, if you will, to do it the old way, the summation way, which is why these options are here, but we don't need to worry about that. We don't, all the headache of the old production system, those are all gone. At this point, all we're doing is exporting. So let's go Somehow I'd never like to have a semicolon. I always think it's going to mess me up. So we've just exported, and you're going to see this is going to work relatively quickly. Well, to be clear, it works at the speed of an export, which is much faster than a production set. So we'll give it a couple seconds here, and then let's go into the Windows Explorer and see if we can find that. Okay, we did C, we did exports, we called it first prod. It's not done yet. You can see there's no folder of images. So there we go, quick and easy. Let's look at the images. This is that first document. It should be branded. And it is, or bait stamped. And so that's it. And there we produced a tab production. I showed you both of the good ways to do it. I showed you how to remove a document from a tab production, and I've showed you how to produce it. And that's really it. You can use those tools to do pretty much anything you want. Here's a common example. Let's say in the QA activity, you notice this single document is bad or something like that. You can now come in and just alter that one document. You could remove it from the production, or you could alter it, because you have the ability to just manipulate a single document, add it back to the same production, and you're good to go. So anyway, hopefully that gets you started with tab productions. If you have any questions, post them on the message board as always. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.